Amid the conflict in Ukraine, a curious geopolitical battle has emerged as both Russia and Western nations vie for influence in Africa and other regions of the global south. Initially, Russia seemed to gain traction with non-Western countries echoing their stance on NATO expansion. However, recent events have led to growing impatience with Russia's actions, especially concerning the Black Sea Grain Initiative. Russia's withdrawal from the deal poses renewed threats to global food security, impacting diplomatic relationships and geopolitical dynamics. Beyond these complex developments, a pivotal question arises. Can Russia successfully keep the support of African nations and solidify its position on the international stage? Or will its diplomatic isolation further exacerbate the conflict's ramifications? Hello, and welcome to another video of Finance Sense, where we cover all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. Before we start, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment below if you enjoyed watching this video, and turn on the notification bell to keep posted. And now, without further ado, let's start. The narrative unfolded when Russia decided to withdraw from the Black Sea Grain Initiative, which had been established through negotiations by the United Nations and Turkey the previous year. This initiative aimed to facilitate the unimpeded export of grain and other agricultural goods from Ukraine and Russia through the Black Sea. In order to maintain the integrity of this passage for grain shipments only, Turkish authorities at the Bosphorus diligently inspected Ukrainian vessels to ensure they were not harboring any weapons. In exchange for allowing this smooth passage, the Western nations consented to ease sanctions on Russian fertilizers and other agricultural commodities, enabling them to be exported without restrictions. This agreement aimed to foster a cooperative environment for trade and support the agricultural sectors of both Russia and Ukraine. At the outset, the deal seemed to be an exceptional achievement. Surprisingly, during August and September, Ukraine managed to export nearly the same amount of grain through the Black Sea as it did before the war began. This accomplishment is particularly noteworthy considering that Ukrainian farmers had also started redirecting some of their products for export through neighboring EU nations and the Danube River. This redirection resulted in a significant influx of grain circulating in the market, effectively contributing to the reduction of food prices from the soaring levels seen immediately after the war. The deal's successful implementation played a crucial role in stabilizing food prices, providing relief to consumers facing heightened food costs in the aftermath of the conflict. But in recent months, Russia has expressed dissatisfaction with the grain deal, raising concerns that Ukrainian grain is not reaching Africa as intended. Additionally, Russia has pointed out that Western sanctions continue to hinder its ability to export agricultural goods, particularly fertilizer. There appear to be several potential reasons why Putin might be pursuing these actions. To start, a clear motive is to limit Ukraine's grain exports, which could lead to higher global prices for grain, ultimately benefiting Russian farmers with increased profits. Next, Putin likely aims to exert pressure and force another negotiation of the deal, seeking a relaxation of the Western sanctions affecting Russia's agricultural exports, particularly fertilizer. Furthermore, Putin's actions targeting the Danube may be a strategic move to encourage Ukrainian farmers to redirect their agricultural products for export through Ukraine's European Union neighbors. This push might be influenced by the fact that last year, in an effort to help farmers in Ukraine, the EU lifted trade restrictions on their goods. However, due to the collapse of Ukraine's currency, Ukrainian produce has become significantly cheaper, causing it to compete unfavorably with European farmers. Consequently, Poland and Hungary have implemented temporary bans on Ukrainian grain to safeguard their agricultural interests. Putin's aggressive tactics put Russia's ties with developing countries at risk, particularly in Africa. The primary motivation behind Russia's acceptance of the grain deal initially was due to the impact of their Black Sea blockade on food prices, which the global south was discontented with. Africa in particular heavily relied on exports of goods and products from Ukraine prior to Russia's invasion. To maintain Africa's support, Russia reopened the passageway and signed the grain deal. Meanwhile, recently, Putin justified his withdrawal from the deal, pointing out that only a small portion of Ukraine's grain reached low-income countries. However, it is crucial to highlight that as per the data released by the UN, about 17% of Ukraine's grain went to lower middle-income countries like Egypt, Kenya, Tunisia, and Algeria, while 37% reached upper middle-income countries, including Libya and Iraq. These statistics underscore the importance of Ukrainian grain exports to the global south, particularly in Africa and the Middle East. As such, Russia's actions and justifications may have implications for its diplomatic relationships with these regions, potentially affecting trade and geopolitical dynamics. Moreover, Ukraine has been actively contributing to humanitarian efforts by shipping over 700,000 tons of grain as aid through the UN's World Food Program. In fact, Ukraine typically supplies approximately half of the wheat for the WFP. This benevolent action underscores Ukraine's role in supporting global food security initiatives. The grain market functions as a highly fluid and interconnected global market, implying that any increase in global supply, irrespective of the destination, has a ripple effect on prices worldwide. Even if the grain is not directly sent to poorer countries in need, it still contributes to a decline in food prices worldwide. A clear example of this phenomenon occurred after the deal was agreed upon last year when global food prices decreased by 25%. The UN still perceives the grain deal as a critical beacon of hope for global food security, acknowledging its positive impact. Due to Russia's withdrawal, wheat futures have already risen by approximately 10%. This indicates the market's sensitivity to changes in grain availability and the potential implications on global food prices. The situation serves as a reminder of the interconnected nature of the global grain market and the consequential effects of decisions made by major grain exporting countries like Russia and Ukraine. As anticipated, Russia's withdrawal from the grain deal has been met with discontent in the global south. The Kenyan government, which had maintained a relatively amicable relationship with Russia, viewed the withdrawal as a betrayal, describing it as a stab in the back. Similarly, the African Union regretted Russia's decision to withdraw from the deal, indicating their concern about its potential impact on the region's food security. The repercussions of the withdrawal appear to extend beyond diplomatic displeasure. Shortly after Russia's withdrawal, South Africa announced that President Putin would not be permitted to attend the upcoming BRICS summit in the country. They explicitly stated that if he were to visit, he would be subject to arrest and extradition to the International Criminal Court. Consequently, it remains to be seen whether Putin can successfully regain Africa's support and re-establish the political cover necessary to strengthen Russia's position. Hi! We hope that watching this video was interesting and that you learned something valuable. If you enjoyed it, please hit the notification button, like, subscribe, and watch more of our videos. Also, don't forget to share your comments in the comment section below. This is Finance Sense, helping you stay current on all the most recent changes in the financial markets and economy. Stay safe and look out for the next video.